Howdy, howdy, folks of the internet, and welcome to this special review of Superman brought to you by PTE Creative. I am flying solo tonight. I'm your host, Evan Davies. I'm one of the two co hosts of the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast here on YouTube and Spotify. Now, before we get into this review, I do want to do our traditional setup. We're going to have a non spoiler section, which is totally safe. I will not spoil anything about the movie for you. I'm just going to give you some thoughts on the film in general, give you some things that you might want to know before going into the film that aren't going to affect anything narratively about the story for you. Then I will go into spoilers, but I'll give you a countdown warning just so you know. But the only thing I will say before we start anything here is if you could, please leave us a like, comment, subscribe, whatever you can to help the channel grow. We really appreciate it. Our reviews have gotten more comments lately, which is really great. And it's been fun connecting with you guys in the comment section as well. So please, if you could, give us a subscribe. It'd be super cool. And if you like the video, comment on it however you see fit. Let us know your thoughts on the film. And it's ironic because I even have Dylan going to the theater to watch this. And if you watch the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast, you know it's near impossible to get my younger brother into a theater anymore, especially with some of his tics that he likes to think about a lot. So it's going to be fun to get into this review of Superman. So let's get to our non-spoiler section. Overall thoughts of the film. A lot of fun. Somewhat odd tone. Little too silly at times. Those are three things I think are my general thoughts on the film. A lot of fun, can be a little silly, odd tone. But more than anything else, and why I will always give this film a very positive review, is for the first time ever, and I'm including 1978, the OG Superman release, more than any other time in history, finally someone understands who Superman is and shows it on screen. For those who don't know, huge comic book fan, you can see some of them right above my head here. DC is by far my favorite. I grew up a DC kid, although Batman is by far my guy. I love Batman. I still have a huge love and affection for Superman. Superman does mean a lot to me. For the first time ever, I feel like someone actually understood who Superman was and portrayed that accurately on screen. That is beyond difficult to do. And you add this fact. James Gunn, David Corenswet, everybody involved with this production made Superman human and tangible where you feel you can actually relate to this character. One of the reasons a lot of comic book characters have this added benefit of always associated with them or identifying with them is they have so many human traits, foibles, flaws that allow you to see yourself in them beyond just the good they do or the cool things that they can pull off or the powers that they have. You see yourself in the character. Superman is so above everybody else because he's so powerful, he's so all this, he's so all that, and yet he's the perfect person. In this film, he is good for goodness sake, and that's awesome. And according to this film, it's also punk rock, which I love. But he still has flaws that make him a human being, which is so crazy to say about this god from another planet, but that's the best part about Superman. Taught by humans, raised by humans, he understands what it is to be human more than even the human does. That's the cool part about the character, and it's finally brought on screen. And I have to admit, a lot of sentimentality in this film. I had multiple moments with tears streaming down my eyes. The music was impeccable. Getting that new wave style to an old soundtrack. Don't change something that works beautifully. Play with it a little bit, make it your own. They did that. The John Williams score is still there and still identifies this character better than anything else ever has. But they throw in some new rock to it. They throw in a little bit more flair to it. and they speed it up a hair as well and give you specified chunks of the original score to really bring some new life into what is already one of the best movie scores of all time. So that's a lot of fun with the music. But no film has ever understood what to do with Superman better than this one. And that is a huge boon and why I'm giving this a huge positive review. Having said that, I also believe Lois is done very well by Rachel Brosnahan. I think that performance is a lot of fun, and they capture that character as well. She has, in a lot of ways, the far more, beyond the realism that she brings to the world of Superman, Lois is the true backbone to get past some of the problems of Superman's naivety. And that is really important because it's shown here that it challenges some of the beliefs of let's just do good for good without sometimes thinking of the repercussions. Lois allows us to be that voice of reason, and it's a great way to get into that character. So I think our two main characters here, spot on. Love it. Now this was spoiled. This was spoiled in the trailer. Mr. Terrific had a lot of fun with that. I think everyone does very well, and I believe Nicholas Hoult played a great maniacal Lex Luthor. Would have liked him a little bit darker, a little bit more edgy, but I think it goes a little too silly at times. But then again, that's just my tastes. But I still think he does a very good job with the Lex Luthor that he's given, and it's a lot of fun. Every other character in here, there is good to them, and it's a lot of fun to see. Now, tone-wise, they go with a very classically corny, corn-fed boy from Kansas approach to Superman, which I'm here for, because it's accurate to the character. And it's very sentimental. But then there's a lot of characters that are presented very cynically. And I think that's on purpose, but it gives this weird tone to the movie because are we really embracing sentimentality? Or are we supposed to be the cynic trying to believe? And the tones don't inherently mesh perfectly. I think there's times where they work really well together, and there's times where I'm just like, I don't like it. There are a few moments, especially Guardians of the Galaxy fans will know this. Those fun beat drops, those fun music edits into the film, that they work really well in some cases. I don't think Superman is inherently the case for that. There are a few moments where I just went, a little too Guardians of the Galaxy for me. And all due respect to Guardians of the Galaxy, I love that franchise, but it's not what I'm looking for in Superman. It's also some of my critiques in other films. If you ever watch our podcast or listen to our podcast, you'll know there's other films that get to Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, I don't want that because it's not Guardians of the Galaxy. So there's a few moments like that in this film that do give me some pause and I'm not crazy about, but still overall a lot of fun. A lot of fun action pieces. It's fun to see Superman just get to be Superman. This is a great... One of the best tweets I saw, or messages I saw online, someone said, if you wanted to watch a Justice League Unlimited episode come to life, this is the movie, because it's just a Justice League Unlimited episode, and I think it's quite fair to say that with a little bit, obviously, more depth to it than the 22-minute episode of Justice League Unlimited can be, but still a heck of a lot of fun. Again, odd tone. And also the silliness. It just presents it as fun. And you just buy in or you don't. The first act is a lot of, that's really cool. A little too cheesy, a little too silly for me. Second act, it's a bit of a morphing in between. Where do we go? The third act really hits the tone well, and you just go, that's Superman. That's Superman. And that's the part that obviously you got to bring it home. It brings it home. It's really a lot of fun. Again, I enjoyed the film. I'm not going to say it's the best of the year. Sinners is still going to hold that crown for me at this moment. I don't even know. Right now, I don't know if this is the best superhero movie of the year. I think Thunderbolts still might have that. Maybe it was just the expectations I had for Thunderbolts was low, and they did bring a lot of weightier topics out in Thunderbolts. But the one thing I will say is Thunderbolts doesn't understand its characters nearly as much as Superman does. And that I give it a lot of credit. I just think there's some silliness that I'm not crazy about here, which is why I'm going to say it's a good film. Very enjoyable. I think you'll have a good 2 hours. And it's a good runtime. It's barely over 2 hours. So you don't have a lot to deal with here. So I'm going to say fun tone overall. I enjoy the film. I think you will too. And there is, technically speaking, 2 after credit scenes or post credit scenes. One is mid credits. That thing's like 5 seconds and doesn't really add a lot of value. The second one is truly at the end of the credits. Again, not going to give you anything, but it doesn't look ahead to any new projects, so don't think it's going to be Marvel announcing their next project. And it's fun toned. You don't have to stay in the theater to watch it unless you just want to see everything that this movie has to give for you. So just wanted to give those out to you. But that is our non-spoiler section of the film. Enjoy it. Go have fun. If you want to leave this episode right now because you don't want spoilers, now is the time. If you want to stick around, I'd love to have you. If you're leaving, thank you for watching. We appreciate you. But we're going to start the countdown. 3, 2, 1. We are in spoiler territory. So, I'm not going to do nearly as many spoilers as I usually do. Mostly because I just want people to enjoy these films. But, David Corenswet as Superman is so endearingly corny in this film, where there's a lot of golly gee Superman from classic Superman days in here that bring a lot of fun to it. But he still has all these issues that he's dealing with, where he thinks he's figured it out. It's clearly a young Superman who the world knows they love him. And then with it's a break-in at the Fortress of Solitude, we get Lex Luthor to come and presents this message from Krypton, which, by the way, I'm not going to spoil this, very prominent actor playing Jor-El, and it's a complete fun surprise. You're like, hey, no fucking way, it's that guy, which is really fun to see. Highly enjoyed that little message. But at first, the message that we get from Krypton that comes with Clark, Kal-El, is, and we don't see any of the Krypton stuff. We don't see Krypton exploding. We don't see him coming to Earth. We don't see him growing up outside of little videos later, much later in the film. You don't see any of that. It's text just telling you the story that you need to know. Very much getting into, hey, everyone knows Superman. Go. So Luthor takes this message that Clark has that Clark has only had half the message. And it's, you're going to go serve humanity and you're going to be this and it's all good. But with his technology and some of his associates, finds out that message is only halfway done. And they recover the rest of the message. And it's telling Superman, it's telling Clark that he should take over and rule Earth. Create this harem, if you will, so he can perpetuate his bloodline and take over Earth with a new Kryptonian regime. Because it'll serve everyone with the ideals of Krypton. And that's how everyone in the world, outside of you people, are pitted against Superman. They go from adoring Superman to hating Superman, theoretically. And it is a really good message behind it of how quick people online can just immediately turn. So it's a very interesting proposition to see. We get Ultraman in this film, which, this is a major spoiler, so maybe plug your ears if you don't want this one, is essentially the Bizarro of this film. It's one of the only ways you can kind of do Bizarro. It's not too Bizarro-ish, but it is presented kind of Bizarro-ish once we figure out the twist. So, there's that. We do have our first inklings of the bigger world, where we have the Justice Gang, which is the small little remnant that we're getting of the classical Justice Society. Gary Gardner, Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, and we get Hawkgirl, which is a heck of a lot of fun. Mr. Terrific is really big standout in this film. I really like Mr. Terrific. Presented as a very non-emotional character, which is really fun to see, especially compared to all the sentimentality that we have going on with Superman and Lois, which is really fun. And I love getting to see Jimmy Olsen and the rest of the Daily Planet crew. They're a lot of fun too. So Luther kind of plays the world for fools while he's also playing this political game where he's putting two nations against each other, one where he's clearly backing and is very corrupt. It is very Trump coded and Netanyahu coded, the classical dictator here. The only thing I will say about that is I have no issue sharing my politics. I am very liberal. I don't think that's going to shock anybody. I'm quite liberal. I can't stand our current president. I think he's an absolute fool and a joke. Having said that, this is not an endorsement of any political person I just trashed. But I have been hearing more and more people, even quite liberal people, stay more that we get it. We don't need the Trump-coded stuff in our entertainment. We understand it, and it feels a little too easy at times. I'm okay with it because I just think sometimes when someone's a supervillain, just show them to be a supervillain. But I understand the critique there, and this is another one of those very easily Trump-coded villains. So just be aware of that if it's something you don't like going into the film. And also, if you're pro-Trump, and you don't see it, good for you. I guess you can turn the blinders on for this movie. But there's a lot of things falling directly against your politics in this film. So that is a lot of fun. Crypto, another standout of this movie. That's part of the silly tone. Crypto is everywhere in this movie. And part of the reason why Superman will eventually turn himself in and have to deal with a pocket universe prison. There is a pocket universe used as a prison in this movie. Part of the reason Superman turns himself in and to try to prove that he's not this evil guy is simply just to get Crypto back. And it's just like a boy and his dog. We love it. We love our pets when it makes sense. So that is a heck of a lot of fun. I'm not going to go into third act stuff. I just want you to go enjoy it and have a fun time. And there is another prominent superhero, or two in this film. I think it's two, but there's one obviously at the end that does make a cameo that I think you'll have a lot of fun with and fits the tone of this movie and could bring you a lot of joy, especially if you're in the know about some of the casting and the future of the DCU. But that is going to do it here for the spoiler section of the show. Once again, I think it's an enjoyable film with an odd tone. Overall, fun time at the movies. Good film. Great is a struggle for me, but I'm going to definitely say good. But more than ever, Superman is presented better than he's ever been presented. And you can tell why Superman matters to millions and millions of people across this world. This film gets it. Regardless of how you want to present it sometimes, this film gets it. And it's going to be great for Superman fans, I think. As one of them, can understand. I had a fun time seeing that character on big screen once again. That is going to do it for the show here, folks. Go check out the rest of our episodes. You can go check out our traditional show, the Wisco Movie Watchers Podcast, here on YouTube or Spotify, wherever you can. Having a lot of fun time. Just in a couple days from now, we're doing a big box office review of all things, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, as we're going through every single year from, I believe, 1965 or 60 onward with the biggest box office hit. And we're reviewing some of those films. And there's some heavy hitters that have released, such as our last episode, which was Back to the Future, which is a heck of a lot of fun. Plus, if you want more movie reviews, we have at least 5 or 6 up of this summer season, and I've got even more coming your way as we will be reviewing Fantastic Four. And as a movie club member, I'm just going to keep going to the movies and seeing new movies and giving you more reviews. So go check those out as they come out, and check out everything we do over at PT Creative. Be really cool if you help us out with a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to stay in touch. And check us out where you can. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace, love, and hugs to you all. Enjoy Superman. Goodbye!